Think training is for dogs, not cats? Wrong. I spoke to certified animal behaviour technician Laylee from Superkit about how to train your cat and why it could completely change their life and yours.
Laylee, welcome back to the show. I can't believe it's been 3 years since we spoke with yourself and Kevin about kind of everything we needed to know, everything that we didn't know we needed to know about cat collars and cat harnesses. Since we've spoken, you've kind of been diving into the world of cat behavior. So I'd love to know more about that, because I guess it's, core to everything that you were talking about, even with collars and harnesses. It's really like crucial for our cats.
Yeah, I think thank you, by the way, for having me. It's really, really a joy to be here. And I think my journey with cat behavior was a really organic one in that I think when we developed our collars and harnesses at Superkit, we became aware that like a good design got you like maybe 60, 70% of the way there, but you couldn't really have success with collars or harnesses without training. So that was kind of like my first taste of it. And then the passion grew from there. And I also started volunteering at a local sanctuary with socializing their cats and seeing how important, understanding of cat behavior is at that sort of very critical moment in a cat's experience. And so I went off and I trained and became accredited as an animal behavior technician. So I'm able to guide humans and their animals in behavioral first aid. And most crucially, the thing I'm most passionate about is ways of managing and interacting with your animal's behavior, your cat's behavior, to prevent issues down the line, which is obviously so much better than having issues in the
Yeah.
first place. So that's a big passion of mine.
Yeah, and I think a lot of our kind of more behavioral problems in cats, it that they often stem from, I guess, that lack of understanding of what their needs are, and all of the different things that we could do to try and optimize to provide their needs, and to optimize their well-being and their mental health as well. And I think, I've spoken a lot, and obviously on this platform we speak a lot about physical health, but that mental health aspect is just so crucial for a cat's overall well-being.
Yeah, I don't know if you can pick up Lola on your microphone, but she certainly agrees. She's here chatting away in the background. So if you hear strange squeaks, that's why. Yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely essential. I mean, we know it from, our own well-being, that if you're not happy and settled and feel safe and calm, then, it's all downhill from there. So I think, getting our cats to a place of like complete happiness and kind of feeling very safe and supported in their surroundings is great for them. It's great for your bond together, and it basically, can rule out or prevent a lot of, behavioural issues down the line. So yeah, I think it's absolutely essential.
Yeah, and there was thinking, I mean, the things that spring to my mind are urinating outside of the litter tray, or spraying, which is actually one of the biggest causes of rehoming or even euthanasia in young cats. Destructive behavior, clawing at your sofas, and just not living their best life. So I guess with that in mind, Laylee, we're talking about the essential skills that we can teach our cat. And we think of dogs as we're teaching them skills, we're teaching them training. And we don't often think of cats really, but that it should be at the forefront of everything, and we should be thinking about that at the very early stages, I guess.
Yeah, I think it does a huge disservice to our cats, really. And I've been thinking about this issue a lot. A friend of mine recently adopted some cats and was asking, I think they'd had friends that had adopted dogs at the same time and had seen how the dog owners were embarking on, dog school and all sorts of training. And they were really thinking about like the basic commands they needed to teach their dogs. And they were sort of looking at their cats and thinking, am I supposed to be doing this or not? And so I had to think about it with kind of them in mind about actually what are the things that you can do with your cat, especially if you're bringing a new cat home. But I would say at any point in your cat's lifetime or its lifetime in your home, that can kind of pave the way for success, that can keep them happy and healthy, but also set them up for everything they're likely to encounter with you together, so that when those moments come, you have this beautiful body of kind of prep in training to
Yeah.
serve your cat in those moments.
And I guess you've then got the skills, even if it's not exactly what your cat needs at that time, you've got the skills to implement other changes and other strategies that may help them. So what kind of things should we be teaching our cats, or what how do we go about introducing this in the first case? I guess it's a case of starting off with baby steps and building on there, maybe.
Yeah, I think a really nice place to start, because essentially your cat has to understand like what you're doing together, the idea that you're going to be learning things together. So it's nice to begin with something quite straightforward, so you can both get the hang of this new dynamic you're kind of embarking on. So I think a really nice place to start is with recall, because it's so that's sort of training your cat to come when you call them. Probably you would end up using their name. And the lovely thing about it, it's a way of getting your cat to check in with you. So it's super practical. I don't know about you, but like my cats, they hide when you can't find them in the house, or you just need them to check in with you because you need to take them to the vet, or you need them to you know, just come to a different room in the house. So yeah, I think recall is a really nice place to begin. You can kind of, one of the kind of heartlands of training is finding something that your cat really loves. So it's a good training environment to test out different rewards for your cat. So probably food-based rewards were like an easy win. But you could also experiment with play or like stroking, but it has to be something your cat actually likes, not something you like doing to your cat. But once you find that thing that your cat finds really rewarding, then you can use that to reward them for engaging in different behaviors. And I think, yeah, so a recall would be an example. You could hold out a little bit of food, get them to take a step or two towards you, and then give them the food when they arrive. And then essentially the process of training is lengthening that distance and adding in their name once they've got the kind of the behavior of the recall really like well established.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm just thinking, when it comes to food treats, is there anything in particular that cats really, you know, go for in your experience and other people's experience? Is there some kind of absolute winners? Because I guess there's a lot of different options there available now. When I
Yeah.
think of, you know, back when I graduated, we used to think, oh, our cats, they don't really do treats, or but there's so many different options. What are some of the best ones that you find work really well?
I find often cats will have a like a real passion for a lickable treat. And the nice thing about a lickable treat is you can kind of deliver it in very small doses. So with any form of like food-based treat, I would say give them as little as you can get away with. So you know, don't give your cat like a huge, like, you know, pile of snacks if they're, you know, willing to engage in training for just one at a time. So yeah, lickable treats are really nice. One other thing actually I do, my cat has quite a sensitive stomach, is I use her regular food. So it's like a cat sort of pate type food. But I add some boiled water, or even just ping it in the microwave for a minute. So it's much more warm, and obviously that like releases aromas, and she's just more into it. So you might find if your cat's already like a huge fan of dinner time anyway, you could keep back a little portion of that and then warm it up so that it becomes kind of more of a treat. So yeah, I would kind of experiment, and just you could always try like little pieces of you know, like boiled chicken or dehydrated like a chicken or duck treats often go down quite well. But yeah,
Yeah,
have a little play. There's
yeah,
usually something that your cat will go do lally for, and sometimes it takes a bit of experimentation, but you'll have fun, both of you, in the process.
yeah. Yeah, I love that warming trick. I mean, that's a really great way to get a cat who's, you know, maybe not that hungry to get them eating, you know, for whatever reason. They're so that sense of smell is just so important to drive their appetite, that yeah, it can be just the turning point that's needed. And should we be doing this training, Laylee, should we be doing that when they're hungry then? Is that a good idea, so they're more motivated?
Yeah, I would say before meal times is quite a good time, because if you're using a food-based treat, they'll be kind of motivated to work for it. But also if you're using play as the reward, cats are kind of, if you think about their like natural hunting sequence, it's like jump around, stalk prey, eat. So it fits into that
Yeah.
pattern quite nicely, the play then eat. So yeah, I think that's actually a really nice time to engage in training. And I would say keep it really short, like just a couple of minutes. You know,
Yeah.
our cats do have fairly short attention spans, so don't make it like a big deal.
Yeah. So that's different from maybe dogs where, they're going to the training class for an hour and they're getting trained for that whole length of time. Keep it short, keep it sweet, and I guess keep it regular as well. It wants to be a daily, twice daily kind of experience if we're
Yeah.
doing it that short length of time.
Yeah, actually, I mean, our cats are really creatures of habit as well. So if you can commit to like a regular schedule that's like every day at a certain time of day, that's the best because essentially your cat will learn to expect it. They'll turn up, they'll
Yeah.
remind you that it's training time, which is really handy. So
Yeah.
because they will want their treats.
Yeah, I love that. So we've got the recall. We started off with that recall. I think that's it. That's a hugely important training mechanism to implement and to get down, because I mean, especially if and in the world of super kit, when we're getting harnesses on our cats and we're taking them out safely, just having that backup knowledge that they do have a strong recall should anything happen, it is, I guess, peace of mind, if nothing else. What's the next thing that we should be training them to do?
Then I would think about kind of a set of skills that are all around the ideas of handling. So there are ways that we are going to need to handle our cats in our lives with them that they are not naturally going to be used to. And if they're not used to them, could be kind of stressful for them. I know this is something, you've talked about a lot, Alex. So I think it's really beneficial to practice those handling skills in advance before you need
Yeah.
them so that your cat is kind of, I mean, there's no intrinsic reason that a cat shouldn't like, for instance, having its claw retracted to have its nail trimmed. There's nothing actually bad about it, but it's just weird to them because it's new. So if we can familiarize our cats with that new sensation and get them happy with it, then we can, then it won't be a big deal for them. So I'm thinking about getting them ready for nail clipping, getting them ready for toothbrushing, and also being able to pick your cat up, which, I would say these are skills that we want our cats to know, but then I wouldn't force them on your cat if they're not into it. If your cat is not naturally loving being hugged and danced around the house, like don't use this skill to do that,
Yeah.
but it is useful to have it in your toolkit. And for
Yeah.
all of them, kind of strategy wise, I would think about like taking some time to first of all just watch your cats. And I like to think about a traffic light system, so like a green, amber, and red zone in terms of how our cat is looking and feeling. So like a green zone cat would be a cat that's like super happy and relaxed, that have a very open body language. Like we all know what our cats
Yeah.
are like when they're happy and
Yeah.
relaxed. So kind of observe those cues in your cat. And then an amber zone cat is a cat that's just starting to feel a little bit unsure. So you might notice them, I mean, just even looking away, or like trying to disengage with something, maybe licking their lips. Their posture often starts like contract in a little, so they might just like get their elbows up and like hunch down a little bit. They're not like totally freaked out in the amber zone, but they're just giving us some signs that they're like a bit unhappy with what's
Yeah.
going on. And then you've
Sure.
got like a red zone cat. So it's a cat who's like super stressed, maybe flat ears, maybe backing into a corner. You've probably seen this when you might have seen this, I guess, when you've taken your cat to the vet. It's one of the like most obvious places that we would see our cats under that sort of stress. So that's a zone we never want to go into. And then you can use those zones in your mind to think about kind of always trying to keep your cat in the green zone. If you see your cat in the amber zone, take things back a step with what you're doing in your training. So if I was training my cat to have their claws trimmed, I would think about what's like the minimum first step I can take on the path to what I need to achieve. So it might be just touching my cat. It's not a given that they're going to be cool with that. They might be, and you can move on a few steps. But so if my cat is not at all like comfortable or used to the idea of being touched, I might just stroke them on like an easy to stroke area, the back of their like back. I might observe their body language in the green zone. Great. I give them a reward. So I'm pairing that with a reward. And then I might, if they're in the green zone at that stage, I might take things on a little level. So maybe could I actually touch them in the vicinity of their paws? If they're in the green zone, great, reward, carry on. Amber zone, if they're like, I'm not sure about that, I can take things back a step. So I
Yeah.
can go back to stroking them on a safe area. And essentially you let your cat dictate whether it's like a green for go, like try the next thing, pairing with rewards all the way, or like an amber, I'm not ready for that yet. Let's work more on the easy stuff before we progress. So you can do that with all of these handling skills, with picking up, just getting your cat at first used to having your hands on the side of them without lifting them up at all, and then you take things one step further. And yeah, I think, those are really nice things to work on with your cat, because you can essentially take the stress out of those situations and turn them from something where your cat's like, I've never experienced this before, so it's probably a no-go, I'm not into it, stop, to oh, that's the thing that comes with treats, I'm really into that, let's go, I'm into it.
Yeah, no, wonderful. And if we're trying to push, because it can, in some instances, those baby steps can be so small and almost so painfully slow that we want to try and push them a little bit further. But if we do that, then actually we can end up just going backwards, kind of, one step forward and two step back, because they just go, no, and actually what was a green now becomes a yellow, and you have to start from the very beginning again. So those really small baby steps are important. And I guess the benefit of doing it really early in a cat's life as well, thinking of claws, and a lot of the time we don't actually need to clip our cat's claws if we're providing them with the scratching posts and that stimulation there. But as they get older, and then maybe they become arthritic and they're a little bit painful, if that's the first time we're trying to touch their sensitive feet because their claws have actually grown round into their pads, which is unfortunately something that I do see on a not irregular basis, they're almost never going to accept that, because they've got that level of pain and discomfort and anxiety that's just built up over time that makes it really challenging then in our older cats.
Totally. I think with all of these things, it's kind of nice to teach them before you need them, because like you said, we're going at our cat's pace. We don't know what that's going to be. Some things they might be really cool with straight away, but some things might take more time. I mean, it's not a huge investment of time. We're talking a couple of minutes a day for a period of time. But you don't want. It's like you don't want to start learning French the week before you go on holiday to France. You want to have been doing it for a few years in advance. That's what I'm thinking about here. Is like establishing those core behaviors. When the day comes that you need to use it, you're like, well done past me, and well done past Cat, like we're ready for this, let's go.
And then I mean, it's also great bonding, isn't it? Like you just get to spend time with your cat. I mean, it's intentional time as well, where you're actually properly concentrating on them and learning to read their body language. So for your relationship as well, then it's just amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It's so much fun. If it's not fun, like reassess and have a think about like why it isn't, because it should be. It should be fun for both of you, and it should be a period of your day that you look forward to together. And then also like the identify, like you say, the sort of green, amber, red zones. I use that all the time with my cat. And sometimes she really surprises me. Like I'm not expecting to see an amber, and I'm like, that is an amber sign. Like, what are you not cool with here? And then I can start to unpack it. And it's just because I'm kind of willfully tuned into those cues, so I can't ignore them. They really stand out to me now when I see them in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah, we probably all have them as well as people, don't we? And we should be aware of what our significant others' green, amber, and red signs are. Same 100%. With our cats.
Yeah.
So I mean, nail trim is fantastic. Looking in their mouths, in their ears, they're all kind of quite sensitive areas as well. I mean, if you see like a body map of nerve density in people, your hands are massive and your head's massive and your body's really small, so it's often all those sensitive areas that are the important bits as well to look at, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's also about building trust together, right? So your cat has to trust that like when you touch them or when someone else touches them, like bad things do not happen, and you can only really build up that trust through a body of experience. And that's why that variety, that like calm in-home training, I think is just so important.
So you said that one of the times we'll see one of the red signs of them being really stressed out is at the vet clinic, which is unfortunate, but also it's true. I think a lot of that comes down to the build up to that vet visit, and they're going in their cage, which they only ever do when they go to the vet and they're not familiar with it. They then go in the car, which they never do, and then they're already super wound up at the vet clinic, and then they have a stranger like me poke and prodding all those sensitive bits that we may or may not have got them used to. So that is probably one of the next places we can really target with these skills that we can train our cats to actually enjoy even.
Yeah, 100%. I think the carrier is a really important one to because it's an easy win actually, I think,
Mm.
to get your cat comfortable with their carrier. I would say, what a lot of us do, and I've been guilty of it myself, is kind of like buy a carrier, chuck it in the garage, get it out on vet days, bundle our cat into it because you're late and you've had to look for them because you haven't trained their recall, and the whole thing is such a stressful experience that, like, never mind arriving at the vet, they're already having a really bad day. But what you can do very easy to get your cat used to their carrier is, first of all, put it in the heart of the home, the place that is kind of like your cat's inner sanctum. I know it sounds weird, but I think we would all know where that is in our
Yeah,
home.
for
So
sure.
hopefully
Yeah,
that
where they
stands.
feel safe and where they love to spend their time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So put the carrier there, open it up, make a little, maybe a breadcrumb trail of treats leading up to it to encourage them to explore it. Fill it with their favorite blanket, their favorite toys. When they get into it, give them food rewards or engage them in play or stroking, something they really love. So essentially, the carrier becomes like the fun palace.
Yeah.
And then over a couple of weeks, once you've established the idea that this is the place where, like, really good things happen, then you can start to think about maybe putting the lid on or maybe closing it. But again, like we talked about with the handling, these need to be baby steps. So, like, if it's a carrier with a zip, and you've had the zipped in opening open until now, I would say step one is touch the zip. That's it. And then maybe, like, pull it closed an inch and then open it again. And at each stage, again, watching for our cats and making sure they're in the green zone and pairing these new experiences with the things that they find rewarding, so that they learn that it's totally cool. That it's like, yes, it's new, it's a new experience, but it comes with treats, and I'm having fun, and it's all good and safe. I would also add, actually, if you've been guilty of the garage bundling scenario, maybe if you can consider getting a new carrier so you
Yeah.
can kind of start from fresh rather than having to work to undo those maybe bad associations that they've built up. That can help. But even if you can't, you can undo those bad associations just by building up the good associations. So it's doable, definitely.
Yeah, but it might take a little bit longer if we're trying to override previous bad experiences. In terms
Yeah.
of carrier, Layli, I wonder if you've got thoughts on what the best type of carrier is that cats enjoy and maybe feel safest in, because there's so many different types out there. I mean, I've been a vet for 17 or so years now, and I'm still seeing new designs of carrier that are still horrendous. But what kind of carrier, is really cat friendly in terms of comfort and safety and security when they're in stressful situations because they've got dogs in the waiting room, or they've got really loud vehicles, or what have you?
I mean, things I look for in a carrier is, you want it to be like decent size. It doesn't need to be palatial, but you don't actively want it to constrain your cat. I think it's nice if it has a solid base, because we want our cats to feel safe. And if it's like a very flimsy cloth base underneath them, that's
Yeah.
going to be harder to get used to. It's easy to think like, oh, I want it to have loads of windows so my cat
Yeah.
can look out. But if you're taking your cat into an environment where there are stressful visuals, I would say actually having a carrier that can be kind of closed down visually, or bringing a blanket to toss over it, is going to be helpful for your cat. But yeah, I mean, think about what this is a really strange thing to say, but like, think about what you would want to be carried in. I'd want it to feel at least sturdy. Like, I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to feel like the floor was going to drop out of it any time. I wouldn't want it to be like, yeah, very flimsy. So I think that's something to think about when you're looking for carriers. What are your? Because I know vets have really strong views on carrier, or I feel like they do. So let's hear
Yeah,
them.
so I'd agree with all of those points. Nice and sturdy. I think somewhere where we can easily take the lid off,
Mm.
because we don't want to. I mean, and I get them that either they're not able to separate them or they're bolted shut. So you would need your wrench, to get them apart, which you're never going to do. But you don't want to be reaching into the carrier through that tiny door and then pulling a
Mm.
cat out. That's really counterproductive in terms of them feeling safe and secure. So being able to lift the lid off, being able to easily get back together as well. Just some of these things are full of plastic clips. And yeah, a reasonable size, not too big. I think how we carry a carrier is actually quite important. So they've all got handles at the top, which then swing as you walk, and the cats really don't like that. So actually, quite aside from the fact that you're worried that the handle might break and they plummet to the ground, but also just carrying them kind of like you would a heavy parcel, I guess. So from the bottom, I think is quite a good way, regardless of what carrier we're getting. So yeah, a few thoughts there. I guess a big enough door as well that it's easy to get to help encourage your cat in if they're a little bit more reluctant, shall we say, but never trying to get to the stage where you're kind of cramming them in and ending up battered and bruised yourself. So yeah, those are my thoughts, I guess. But familiarity, whatever you're familiar with and they're familiar with, is going to be the most appropriate thing for sure.
Definitely, it makes total sense.
Yeah. And then so we've got them in the carrier, then it's getting into the car. And I guess we're talking, we've spoken about baby steps. It's very similar to get them used to being in a vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about most cats' experiences of vehicles, they probably got in one to kind of arrive at your home, which, although it's like a joyous day, was probably very stressful for them because it's a lot of new. And then you probably put them in your car to take them to the vet. So chances are, if you sort of randomly pick a cat out of the population, their associations with cars are not off the bat going to be great. Yeah. So we can completely undo that. It's not a problem, but it's worth just bearing in mind that probably with car training, like really think about those baby steps. So I would actually start in the home, like get your carrier training done, put them in the carrier, and then maybe literally just open the front door, take a step outside and walk back in. I mean, once you get to the car, think about it from your cat's perspective. So, when a human thinks of driving in a car, you think, I don't know, it's going to be maybe slightly more noisy when I'm driving. But think about, the slam of the car door, the rush of the air as the pressure changes inside, the sound of the ignition, the bumps, the like changing lights, the fact the world's moving past faster. Those are all things that if you break them down individually, you can get your cat used to, but you need to put your cat senses on and think about, I would almost go for a drive yourself and just tally up all the things that would be new to your cat and then work on them one by one using that kind of gradual process.
Yeah. And then they absolutely can love it. I mean, I think we have a big population of people who, travel around in camper vans or caravans, and they bring their cat with them, and the cat loves it. They're not restrained, which is, maybe not ideal, but, they're sitting up on the dashboard, looking at the world go by and absolutely loving it. So maybe it's, one of the biggest myths out there that cats hate traveling in cars. It's just that it's so unfamiliar to them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just new. I mean, take the example of the carrier. You might think that cats are like generally scared of carriers, but you bring a cardboard box home, your cat's not scared to get in that. There is nothing intrinsically like scary about these things. They're just new and weird, and cats are just not into new and weird. So you just got to guide them gently through that process. When they come out on the other side of it, usually it's a bit like, the kid at the top of the water slide that's scared to go down, and then once they've been down once, they want to go down like 100 times. Our cats are normally like that. Once you guide them through to the other side of feeling a bit weirded out by something, normally they're like, I'm into this. Let's do it. I'm ready for my treats. Let's go.
I love that example because that was my son in a recent holiday. He was really scared of that really steep slide and chickened out at the beginning, but then got there at the end and then really regretted the fact that he hadn't gone for the whole time down the really scary water slides. I was quite pleased because I was having to follow him on all of those. But yeah, absolutely the same for our cats. And then I guess, Laylee, kind of coming on to one really important thing, and we spoke about this last time we had the conversation, is the importance of collars and the importance of harnesses for those that are, maybe indoor cats, and we want to allow them to explore the outdoors in a safe, controlled manner. But getting them used to collars and harnesses clearly then has to be the next step.
Yeah, definitely. It's very easy to kind of think, I'll just put it on my cat and they'll just get used to it. But that doesn't work, and you're going to have to undo it in that kind of like association in the long run. But B, it's so much more joyful to make it something your cat actively looks forward to wearing, is kind of into and accepts, rather than something you foist upon them. So, with collar training, it's the same thing. The nice thing is, once you learn how to do these things, you can apply the techniques to any new thing you need to introduce your cat to. So, with a collar, wouldn't start by putting it on them. I would start by, you know, letting my cat just be in the vicinity of it and pairing that experience with reward. So they're like, oh, when that thing's out, good things happen. And then I would think about maybe letting them sniff it, letting them explore it, rewarding my cat for taking a positive interest in it. And only then would I start to think about, well, how am I going to need to position myself to put this collar on? Where are my hands going to go? Am I going to brush their whiskers as I put it on? Because I should maybe, just brush their whiskers and get them used to that feeling if they're, keeping them in the green zone, obviously. And then, just do it up, so it's under their chin, and then take it away, and then work up to the experience of fully closing it. And it sounds a bit laborious, but it's really it's very fast. We're only talking about a couple of minutes training, and the difference in how our cats react to them versus just popping a collar on and then being like, what is this thing that's new and it's around my neck? It's completely night and day. So I think it's well worth it, probably cumulatively 10 minutes of training to get your cat, happy and used to wearing their collar. And I would also say start off with just the collar. So don't put, big accessories, your tracker, your ID tag on it at first. Introduce those things once your cat is used to wearing their collar.
Yeah, because they're all jangly and heavy.
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, jangly is a really important thing because it will have a noise. And so that is another thing to familiarize our cats to. So get them used to just the sound of it before you put it on their collar. So yeah, that's kind of how I would approach collar training. And I think it's really, really essential. And people can't believe it when they try it. They're like, my cat loves its collar. When I take it off to put their feet treatments on, my cat misses it. And it's like, yes,
that's right. Success. And I guess partly that's how what our collars are made of and how they fit and all that kind of thing, which I know we spoke a lot, and I'll link our last conversation in the show notes as well. But since we last spoke, Layli, because the collars and the harnesses that you produce at Superkit were originally all leather, and a wonderful kind of nice soft leather. I got a couple for my cats as well. But you've got a new product, and I think actually Kevin kind of hinted at it when we first spoke. But you've got kind of the cork products, I guess, and that's not something that I, certainly me not knowing about cork, thinks of as a secure, reasonable product that we could make a cat collar and harness out of. But there's lots of benefits as I understand it.
You're lucky Kevin isn't here talking about cork, because you would have a 5-hour-long podcast. But it comes from a real amazement with this kind of wonder material that is natural, because I think most of us, we might have encountered, well, probably wine corks is the extent of our experience with cork, but that's really not reflective of what cork can do. So the cork we use, it's from local oak forests to our workshop in Spain, and it's made into this super flexible, super smooth kind of leather analog, I guess is the best way to describe it, because it moves and feels like leather, but it's just made out of the processed bark of oak trees, and the oak trees survive, which is nice. But I mean, people often ask us which one should I choose for my cat? Is the cork as good as the leather? And I'm no, the cork is better than the leather because it's waterproof as well. So if you have a real water baby adventure cat, then I'll definitely steer you towards our cork range. But yeah, it's just so soft and supple. I can't believe it, honestly, but it is just a wonder material, and it's vegan and great for the environment.
So I mean, and I think that's really an important point, because there's more and more evidence of the environmental impact that our pets have. And to be honest, I'm only aware of the figures for a dog, but a dog can be a medium sized, or a Labrador can have the same kind of impact as us almost. It's huge. And cats, okay, they're a little bit smaller, but it's still going to be significant. And so anything that we can do to reduce their environmental impact through sustainable, I guess using sustainable products, but also products that are going to last a long time, right? Because if you're not having to buy 4 collars because your cat hates them and keeps losing them, or because they're cheap and nasty, that's better than having them in landfill, and by just replacing them with a single product that then lasts them for a really long period of time.
Yeah, it's something that's obviously at the core of what we do, because I think it's really important that we have things that, like you say, last a long time. I mean, we found a Superkit out of frustration with collars that we just, to be fair, that our cats put in organic landfill every couple of weeks because they would lose them and shed them. And we just have to buy a new one. So yeah, I think, and obviously, luckily, our cats are passionate about natural materials as well. So they prefer the scent of things like leather or the cork, and it becomes imbued with their natural scent as well. So it becomes like part of them. So it's a really nice situation where, our own ecological ideals and like principles as consumers really align with 100% with what's best for our cat. So it's a very holistic set of demands that our cats make.
Yeah, and the other thing, Laylee, that I love about kind of Superkit as well is that because you donate meals to shelter cats as well, don't you?
Yeah, we work with an amazing sanctuary called Blind Cat Rescue that is a lifetime care sanctuary for blind and FIV and SELV positive cats. So cats that have maybe had a like very tumultuous start to their lives, are not really suitable for rehoming, and would be at high risk of euthanasia. They get this amazing forever home where they are lavished with every care. And every time someone orders a Superkit, it's our great honour to donate 2 meals for every order to the cats at Blind Cat Rescue. And if you head off to our YouTube channel, you can watch their stories because they are just amazing cats who've lucked out and found an incredible home.
Wonderful. So YouTube, where else can people go, Laylee, to find out all about Superkit and the work that you do, and dive into your products as well if they're suitable for them?
Yeah, so we probably the best hub is our website, which is www.superkit.co, so just.co, where you can find our products, but also our blogs and resources, also the courses I run for harness training for cats. So yeah, that's a great place to dive in. Or you could catch us on social. We're at Superkit Store on most social channels.
There's a lot of them. It's hard to keep up sometimes, isn't
Yeah,
it?
probably not true, actually. I can't keep up with them.
Well, Laylee, well, thank you so much for coming back to talk to us. I know our cats are going to be so much better off for the information that you've shared, and hopefully the encouragement to that this really is a worthwhile thing that we should be doing, that will improve the lives of our cats and our bond with them as well. Just as a little teaser, Laylee also came up with another amazing topic to talk about, so we will have her back on the show next year at some point. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you again.
It's been such a joy. Thank you so much for having me and for letting me talk about this subject that I'm so passionate about. I really hope that this information has been useful.
But to get your cat to wear a collar or harness without hassle and be able to explore the outdoors safely, you need to check out this masterclass from Laylee and her partner Kevin. So tap on that video. I'll see you over there, and until the next time, I'm veterinarian Dr. Alex. This is Our Pets Health, because they're family.